So I'm vlogging a little bit today. I guess not vlogging, but I'm on my way back to meet up with Catherine and her friends. We're doing a part 2 of our interview, and yeah, we're kind of excited about it. And we will be talking a lot about a podcast that they're actors on today, so I'm kind of excited about that. Also, hi, I'm Ashley. I'm a professional cosplay photographer, Twitch affiliate, and TikToker. Welcome to my YouTube channel. And if you're just tuning into my YouTube channel, I do lots of cosplay and local celebrity interviews. I also do various series. I do vlogs. I do get ready with me's. I attend drag shows, and yeah, welcome to the channel. Like I said, without further ado, I have back with us some amazing podcast actors, and they're going to introduce themselves right now. So I'm going to step out of the way.
Hi, I'm Kat, and I played Kathy in Left on Dead.
Hi, I'm Maya, and I played Mackenzie on Left on Dead.
Okay. So I don't have my little device that lets me stop and start my camera today, so you're going to hear me from behind the camera for a little bit, and I'm going to talk to them from behind the camera. So I just wanted to give you guys a little heads up when you're watching this, is why I'm not in this video a lot. So I'm going to have you two introduce yourselves. Kat, we met you last time, so we'll have Maya go first.
Yeah. So I'm Maya, I'm 21. I moved to Kentucky about 7 years ago, and so I've been doing acting since I was 14. So yeah.
I'm Kat, as you know. I've been acting for about 2 to 3 years all told, but I've done a lot of acting, directing, writing, and yeah, and that's what I do.
Okay, so I wanted to give you a little background on why we chose this location. Most of the time, when you think of like thriller and stuff, when it comes to this podcast, you think of like wooded areas and lakes. And so right now we are at a very prominent lake, and in this video I will show you the lake, well, at the end. So I just wanted to give you a little heads up. As you can see, we switched locations because the bird watchers decided to crash us. So tell me a little bit about how this came to be. Creators, how they approached you, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Do you want to start?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So Jamie and John, we met them at Spotlight Acting School, our local acting school in Berea, and we were in a production of A Christmas Carol, and they were in it as well, and they kind of came up to us. Well, this was my kind of interaction. They came up to me and they were like, "We really like your voice, like what do you kind of do?" And I told them like I aspire voice acting, and they were like, "Well, let's get you on this project." And they kind of like took it from there, and within a month or so we got in the booth and we started like creating stuff and creating Left on Dead.
Yeah, I got picked up a little later. They had already gotten Maya and all of our friends that were part of Christmas Carol that are also in the production. They had already signed all of them on and done most of their voices, I think.
Yeah.
You all had already done all of yours.
Yeah.
And then they had a few extra characters that we haven't found a voice for. And then I was working with John on a different podcast. Spotlight has its own podcast, and he interviewed me for our production of The Importance of Being Earnest. And so he was like, "You really sound well on like audio. Do you want to try this?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'd love that." So then he brought me on to play Kathy, and then we've pretty much been hook, line, sinker ever since, as far as like they've really brought us through and did a lot of great stuff. But the guys that write it, they already have their own true crime podcast called True Crime Cast?
True Crime Cast.
Yeah, True Crime Cast.
Yeah,
yes, that is the correct podcast. Just making sure I read that right.
You got it.
So they already had their own podcast that they do themselves, and so they were like, "Well, we like the real life True Crime Cast that they were doing, so let's try our hands at fiction writing." And so they were trying to build this true crime podcast that all of the events in it are fake, and is done by all actors, but it really harkens back to a lot of the things that they were doing under True Crime Cast, covering real stories.
Now that we've talked about your lovely creators, tell us a little bit about the story.
So the first season of Left on Dead follows Nick Boyd, and Nick is a teller at a bank and deals with loans. and he gets this text message from the mysterious Apollo, and they basically play like a cat and mouse game, and it ends up in a crime happening. Without spoiling it, because I recommend you go ahead, listen to the first season before you get to second season. But a crime happens, and then it segues us into season 2.
Into season 2, where Nick Boyd is he is
On
up
trial.
for trial, and
We've now changed perspectives. So
Yes.
a podcaster, a true crime podcaster, has picked up the crime that happened, and he is following the trial of Nick Boyd for the crime that was committed in the first season. And now Nick and Alex is our main character.
Yes.
Alex, the podcaster, is now starting to get in touch with Apollo. And so he's starting to unravel the mysteries behind what happened in season 1, but also uncover new mysteries for himself.
Yeah, he's diving deep into it.
Yeah. So we play different characters. You play...
I play his boss and like his best friend, so I'm kind of keeping him in check throughout the whole time because he's going a little crazy on the wall.
Yeah, I play his ex-girlfriend and informant because I am the clerk for the district attorney's office. So I know all the ins and outs of the evidence that they have. And so he kind of like tries to ply me for information. And I like free pizza, so.
Okay, so tell us about your character and how you brought this character to life.
Okay, so my character is Mackenzie. She is the boss of Alex, and first reading her character, I figured she was kind of like high strung, but she still got that like soft side. And so she's very a tough cookie, but she also wants to be there for you. So I kind of, when creating this character and kind of getting to dive deep into the voice acting for it, I kind of resonated with myself because she reminded me a lot of myself, and a lot of the characters that I play are kind of like high strung but kind of bubbly, and so like previous characters that I've played, I kind of pulled from those characters. And her voice, I wanted to make sure it was like very meticulous, so the times that she's kind of being a boss and kind of reprimanding Alex was kind of more like direct and firm, but then when she's kind of checking in on him, it's kind of more soft and sweet. And so that's kind of like what I went with the thought process.
So when you were like developing your idea process, because I know you said it was a lot to do with your own personality, how long did it take you to really get into the motion and develop your sense of the character?
I would say it took me about a few weeks because we had a little bit of a gap in between when I got put onto the podcast and when I recorded. And so I got that script a few days later, and I kind of just dove deep into it and was trying to kind of build how I thought Mackenzie would be. And since I pulled it kind of from how I feel myself, I was kind of trying to put myself in the situation of Mackenzie and be like, okay, so if I was a boss and I was doing this, kind of how would my reactions be? And so when I was recording, I liked to kind of have a raw reaction almost, even though I had read the script, kind of like act like this is a situation where I've never read it before, and like kind of just go off that and kind of be like, oh my gosh, like this is happening, or like something like that.
Oh, I like that kind of process. So I don't know if Kat remembers, but I tried to do a mini series in which I didn't give anybody a script. We just improv the whole thing.
That's so fun.
And it, like, the acting on it was so good because we never knew what the next person was going to say. They were giving a scenario, and then they had to improv it, and that was every scene. And so that reminded me of that. And
Yeah.
I think people who go into reading it blindly, you get a more authentic read. So yeah, that was really cool. So the lovely Kat is back, and tell us a little bit how you brought your character to life.
So mine was a little more quick. They had already recorded most of the voices by the time I got brought on. So I had the script, and then about 3 days later I was sitting in the booth. It was a little faster for me. But what was really nice was that John and Jamie gave me a lot of like, this is what we wrote her for. Like, she's from the mountains of Kentucky. She's no nonsense. She's very like, I don't really need you. I want you, but I don't need you. So that was
very you.
It basically just said, it's you with a thicker accent. So that's kind of how I approached it. I was like, this is kind of me, but with like a thicker accent and more. But I think what's really cool about Kathy, and something that's always resonated with me, there's a line that she says where she was like, you held the flashlight while I changed the tire. You didn't come save me like some damsel in distress. And it was really fun to like read that, but it kind of clicked for me, like, this is who this person is. She's very like, I asked you to come help me, you didn't, I did it myself. Like, I'll ask for help, but if you don't help me, I'll do it myself.
Very independent.
Yeah.
Very.
But I kind of, so she's a little different than how I would normally develop a character. How I normally develop a character, I read it at least twice through before I really start deciding on how she is, because oftentimes how I approach a character is how they fit into the story overall.
Yeah.
What kind of tool did the author use this character to be? Are they the foil? Are they the main light? Are they an accent character? Like, what are they? They're still very whole. I don't like to leave them two-dimensional, but if you approach it from that perspective, you oftentimes can find nuanced ways to bring out those things about them that would be very two-dimensional if you just went based on the writing. What I mean by that is, like, Kathy, yeah, she's hurt by Alex, and she could be very much a jilted ex-lover, but when Alex comes to her and, you know, he's interested in what she's doing and he's trying to be a part of her life in some way to bring her onto this project, you know, she liked him at one point and she probably needed a friend, so she's kind of bringing him into the fold. But she's also a no-nonsense lady. I'm not going to give you this for that if you don't give me something in return. And so she asks for his silence, and she gets him to pay for food and coffee and have very transactional in that regard. But she's lovely. She would do anything for the people that really mattered.
So you said, we're going to backtrack it to the beginning. You said, just like you with a thicker accent. Do you do the Eastern Kentucky accent?
It's not super Eastern Kentucky because I didn't really grow up around Eastern Kentucky, so if it was an accent I could place, it'd probably be like South Central Kentucky.
But do you make your accent a little thicker?
It's basically my accent, just more exaggerated.
More exaggerated. So this is going into like podcast acting because I've been like looking, and also if you want to come back in, you might be able to answer this question too.
So we're on the same plane.
So if you I've been looking at how you dialect like different things. Have you guys ever like had that experience of trying to dialect? Can you like tell people about how you learned how to pick up accents from other places?
Do you want to start?
Sure. So a lot of my acting inspiration started when I was 14, and I would watch videos and movies religiously with different accents and kind of immerse myself in it. I would watch it over and over, and I would pick different like dialects and different accents and just kind of practice them as I went on. I would do one at a time and kind of like hone in on it and kind of like make it my everyday. So like kind of like a little bit methody.
Yeah.
Like I would just like, if I was like alone and I had free time, I would speak in that accent, so I would kind of get more of like a natural feel for it and stuff like that.
Yeah. The mouthfeel of words. I just like saying that word. The mouthfeel of words. I did something very similar when growing up. I essentially absorbed myself in television, and I only exclusively watched BBC for a solid while.
Yes.
And so, but it was really interesting, like growing up with constantly hearing those sounds and those words, that they're very much a part of my personhood in a
Yeah.
way that not growing up with multiple ways to hear things can make it harder to hear the difference. I also, on a different note, I also speak multiple languages. So coming into pronunciation and dictation, I was able to come to it from the perspective of a linguistic and language style, where I saw it as almost a different language. Because not only are the words you choose different versus register versus till, like England would use till, we would use register, but also like vowels, how they sit. So like American is very in the front, and we like kind of go in the front with our vowels. It's very forward. But you know, England is farther in the back in the vowels, and there's R's are very soft, and there's not a lot of like hard R. But if I take this and I put a hard R on it, now we're in Ireland. And I'm just gonna say this right now, I don't know enough Irish accents to do anything more than a bland American version of an Irish accent. So if anybody's watching from Ireland, please don't judge me.
Listen, I
So
love how
sorry.
you just reset. You literally
know.
like reset the whole like, and then you were like, okay,
Okay.
listen. You just
how
reset
it
your
goes,
whole
yeah.
your whole language.
Yeah.
But if you also notice, like my body language almost changes when each of
Yeah.
those comes in. It's but that's kind of part of it. Like you kind of take affectations of different people. I love my biggest inspiration for like dialects, Nicola Coughlan from
Yes,
who plays Penelope in
on
Bridgerton.
Bridgerton.
She's Irish.
She's
does
wonderful.
a fantastic RP accent, a received pronunciation British accent. That's, for any of you that don't know that word, that's basically when you listen to Shakespeare and everybody's like, to be or not to be, that is the question. Like that's
Yeah, that's
received
the-
pronunciation. That's the posh.
Yeah.
But she does like a really good RP there. She has a fantastic Derry accent and Derry
Oh,
girls,
yes.
and she's not from Derry, which is another
No.
place in Ireland. She's from Galway.
Which I was so surprised about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then she's like, I'm looking for you. Look at the stadia. Like that's my favorite bit.
She's so versatile with her accents, and she just kind of like picks it up. And I think she definitely like, you can take differently notes from other people as well. Like when I would meet people from certain places, like it definitely, when you're around them long enough, you kind of pick it up. And it's like very helpful to like have actual interactions with people, like when you're learning languages or you're learning an accent, to just kind of like be immersed in it, like actually, and you're not just in your room, you're with people and you can kind of practice.
And I will say the best way to pick a lot of these things up is, yes, doing it yourself, but also being hyper observant of everybody around you. So like we have good friends that I've picked a lot of their affectations up because I'm constantly watching you all. And so then,
me too. It's
like-
it's the ADHD.
yeah, it's the ADHD.
You guys are funny. Both days that I recorded, the charger that I've been using has a short in it, so the camera died both days at the outro video. So yeah, but I want to thank Kat and Maya for coming back down here and recording again with me, this time about the podcast that they're a part of. I think it's really cool content. It's a really cool thing to be a part of. It's really entertaining, and if you really love podcasts, you should check it out. Yeah, again, thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, and thank you for all the support that you guys have given me over the last couple years. I really appreciate it, and I hope to continue doing this. Stay tuned for my Pride content next week and the week after. So yeah, thanks. Bye.